given a series of booklets which has on how to approach. Like they are first taken to a site, as they are asked to walk through the entire site, understand who are the users and how they respond to the street, identify what are the issues. So like in the board that you could see, we have a role playing cards which will each of them get a role, and then they have actually listed down the issues and as per each role. So these kind of things happen. This is the way, like, as a school student, hardly they are taught on how to respond to civic issues. Though civics is there as a subject, it remains on paper last mostly. So people don't know how to respond if, for example, there is a water law stagnation outside their house or something. So we wanted to sensitize the students, and based on all the morning session of going to the site, understanding who are the stakeholders and all of that, they come back and they were also taught how to write letters to the concerned authorities. So another important thing is to understand who is the authority for which issue. So that was also one of the understandings that the students had got, and they had written letters to the concerned authority to requesting them to resolve that. The next thing is Eyes on the Canal project. I think some of you might be knowing this. This is again in collaboration with GIZ. This is an open competition. So the interesting thing with public participation about this project is that the brief was done used as part of making the brief. We had adopted a lot of community engagement techniques to arrive at the brief, which is actually documenting the site and understanding the character of this place. So this is the Buckingham Canal, which actually cuts through the city from north south, and sorry, this we had actually conducted a series of activities. We had asked them how do they engage with the canal. So a lot of people had different ways on how they had engaged with this canal. So we had documented all of that. We had actually listed all the various usage that they had done, and we had also asked them what is the preference and perceptions with respect to this canal. What do they wanted this canal to be, and what do they need to actually walk safe in the nights or in the daytime. So this is another way of how we had engaged with the people as a process in just making a competition brief. So once that the competition got done, the winners were selected. Those selected projects actually came back with their developed proposals, and that was again presented to the people to understand if they actually feel these to be impacting them, to understand if that's actually helping their issues. So these were a set of sheets that were done. These were all exhibited to the community. There are several exhibitions that were conducted, display exhibiting all these sheets, what is documented, and showing them that what is happening here in the space. And then along with that, the winners had also presented their solutions to the public to understand. So the public had also come up with some inputs which had helped them in as part of the design development that they could do. This is actually the Harrington Road Streetscape Redesign project. Is actually a street redesign project where it initiated by the local residents of that particular street, and then they had approached us as consultants, and along with us, we had approached the concerned authority, which is the Greater Chennai Corporation. So with them, this was redesigned. This is one of those streets where a wheelchair user can actually access the entire street without getting down. It's a highest priority here is the pedestrians, and they will be able to walk continuously along the entire stretch without any need for them to get down, go up. It's made completely accessible. So these are some of the images of before and after, how it was transformed. And moving on to the next one, the Accessible Beach Pathway project. This again is a community initiated project. So here in Chennai, we have this thing where on December 3rd, which is the World Disability Day, where they make temporary mat tracks for wheelchair users to go and access the water. Marina Beach here in Chennai is one of the most used public spaces, and that is actually not accessible. But as per the 2016 Disability Rights Act, it demanded all the public spaces and buildings to be accessible. Since then, this project has been happening temporarily, where they had the mat, and once couple of years back, then commissioner had decided that this can be made permanent with. So since then we have been working on this project. So this is a pathway that leads to the water from. So this has been going on for like almost 4 years now. There have been multiple change in locations because this requires CRZ clearance, community concern, and all of that. So here, when we went one location, when we had gone to meet the community, so we actually had a setback here because this was along the uh, village death procession route. So they had opposed that particular pathway here, and we had to drop this particular location. So this is how the stakeholder engagements happen here, where if we are moving a project and if there is opposition from the people, then we cannot go ahead and implement the project. There has to be a way to accommodate their needs as well. So for this particular community engagement meeting, we had actually taken a model of the pathway to show them that, what is the thing that is going to come up so that they can understand and if their activity can still continue. But since they had oppositions, we had dropped this location, and now we are currently working on shifting it to another location, installing it in a different location, which is still work in the project. So this particular thing, this meeting happened, like we had submitted DPR, everything was ready, tender was called for, the contractor was ready. But since the community leaders had expressed their opposition, we had to drop this particular site even at the almost at the end point. So this again is the disability right lens project, where they want to demonstrate how a wheelchair user and other people with disabilities can use workspace, residence, and all normally. So we have these three categories, which is live, work, and play. These are the various domains that they use on an everyday basis. And this museum is actually a demonstration. It's an interactive museum where they can use and experience the different devices and all the assistive. There are so many assistive devices, aids, and other things that actually help them to overcome the disability and actually function uh, at ease on a day-to-day basis. So this museum is actually a demonstration of all of that. So this is actually currently in a detailed design development phase, where this is again, it's a back and forth work, because we as architects and designers have to understand what is their requirement, and it's being designed with them as per what they want, these spaces and other things. And the next thing is, this is a residence project. This is actually done in Tirunelveli, where this is a guest house. This is a completely eco-friendly house that was done. So the way of engaging the community here in this was most of these were their own traditional styles and from their neighborhood villages. But today, a lot of these are not in practice. So this is inside an institution campus. So we had actually gotten civil students to understand how this was done. And then this was also done as a capacity building exercise for the local labor. So they understood how to go about working with their own techniques and make a house that is completely sustainable and also low cost. So this is the way how we taught them how they can do that. So this is the last project.
Sorry to interrupt. I would request if you.
Sure. I'll just wind it up quickly.
Yeah.
So this is a street redesign project, which is a demonstration of a complete street project. So we wanted to actually do a short-term action that will lead to a lot longer-term change. So this is the existing street condition, and we had resolved all of those with actual what is the requirement based on site. We have done all the series of mapping and other things, and then we had also done a lot of analysis. This is one such analysis which talks about the orientation, shading at that particular street. And based on that, since it had lack of shade, we had proposed shading structures. And this is how it looks when the entire street is actually redeveloped as per what is actually needed. So the full extra carriageway space, which is the space for the vehicles to move, was streamlined. So in general, streets are actually considered as, just something for vehicles to move, but that's not the case, where there are so many other users, vendors, pedestrians, cyclists, and all of that. So this is the space was regained for all of them and shown to public on how it works. So these are some of the images that we have. These are all post-implementation images where you can see the existing sidewalk is a bit narrow, and we had extended the sidewalk so that it could facilitate all the users. So as a part of this, we had also tried to understand who are the user groups and how much time they spend. And based on that, post implementation of that temporary tactical urbanism, we actually wanted to, we had identified the list of user groups, then we had the time based on how much time we can engage. So we had designed questionnaires for each user group and how much they do, and we had actually conducted these kind of surveys. So this is a precedence for a permanent design. So we had asked them the preference and perceptions on how they want, what they want, and all of that. So this is done. So I just like to conclude with what a student can do with respect to, and what, when you start, what are the important things that you have to keep in mind with respect to public participation. So first thing is informing the community about the plans, process, and decisions. So they should know what is happening. And then you also have to understand what is the needs, views, and their preference towards those the project. The third thing is to seek an approval and acceptance of the decisions that have been made for to the various, from the various people who are involved, the community and all the stakeholders. And then active participation or partnership would be ideal, because that helps in a longer term maintenance and all of that, and also enable grassroots initiatives which could be implemented by the people along with the local government authorities. So these five things actually have to go together. Just informing the community without all the last four things doesn't work. So as Jane Jacobs had quoted, cities have the capability of providing something for everybody only because and only when they are created by everybody. So as only when these five things come together, it would help in a successful public consultation and a successful project indeed. So this entire process is actually fun, as you get to meet a lot of people and all of that. But few things to keep in mind is, you don't have a single user. You will be designing for 1 million people, so you will need to consider a lot of things beyond a normal architectural project, because your user group is diverse. Second is, it's a multidisciplinary approach. It's not a problem that only an architect or designer can solve. So you will have to consider yourself as one of the partners or stakeholders, and take in inputs from everybody who is to be who are the end users of the project. And this will require a lot of things, like there could be external consultants, environment specialists, climate specialists. So there'll be so many other things that we will have to work along with. And this is something that we often get carried away. What, as students, we believe that what we feel is the right thing, but that's not the case. Especially in public projects, it needs to be validated on ground as what is the actual need. So what we want is not always the actual need. And then you will also need to be ready with 1,000 backup plans, because not everything goes as per the first plan that you make. And this is one important thing. We need to speak less and listen more to others with respect to who are the users of the project and the stakeholders. You also need to be very ready to work with different scales, because it could be a larger project vision, but you will need to start small. That's the reason I had structured this presentation in different scales, and how we could do a public consultation in different scales and different methods. So things take time here, and it is very important to be ready to work with different scales and take up different roles actually. So it's not like I'm a designer and I will only design. You will also have to get into places where you will have to build the capacity of people so that they can accept the design. You'll have to teach them which is the right way, because sustainability way of living is still not accepted across. So you'll have to take up different roles as the project requires. And then patience, as I told, like one of the projects I had mentioned, it took us 4 years to install just a pathway. So patience is very important to go about any of these projects. And it's also, there's a need to be strategic in how and what you want to do. Finally, you'll also have to be flexible. Like you cannot start with, okay, this is the brief and this is what I will do. It will actually evolve with the course of the project. So yeah, I think I will skip this because the Ashita had already given the introduction. So these are our focus areas where we improve walkability, improving livability of neighborhoods, improving the quality of public realm built environment, improving awareness on sustainable method, and improving the community engagement. So to do this, we do all of the below listed things, which is urban open mapping research, education and capacity building, community engagement, and participatory workshops. So only when we do this, we get to understand what is the need. So based on this, we will be able to design and conduct events. So public event programming is actually one way that people can celebrate that the project is happening. So and then public art, of course, to express what it is, and then publications and social media for a wider coverage and all of that. Yeah. So I will end it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Srivardhan. It was very interesting and very structured presentation. Without wasting much time, I would like to introduce the final presenter. The next we have is architect Tapas Upadhyay from Agor Studio. Agor is a grassroots design studio based in Bhopal. Their practice varies from designing buildings, spaces as well to curating exhibitions. They love working with different communities, learning from them as well as working on the upgradation of traditional building crafts. They feel that a future based without indigenous knowledge systems is like a human without memory. We are glad to have you here. Over to you now.
Thank you very much for having me here. I mean, first of all, I really wanted to congratulate both the parties which have presented earlier before me. I mean, such wonderful work you are doing right now, and huge respect for you all guys. Thank you very much. So I will just start my screen share. Just give me a minute.
A brief reminder to everyone that please note down your questions in advance, and we will address them at the end of panel discussion.
I hope you all can see my screen right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So first of all, I just wanted to, explain that what our intent of working is. Agor basically is a word which we got from learning about how lakes are being built. So Agor is basically a space before building a lake in front of you, which means that it's a treasure of all the droplets of water which comes from various places around the lake, and it's basically a reservoir for the lake, and once the Agor filled up, the overflow of Agor goes into the lake, and once the lake is dried up, you still have the water in Agor. So the idea of starting our practice came around is like I and my partner Nipun, so we both used to work in Hunarshala for past 5 years. Because we both are very multidisciplinary people. I mean, I myself is not only architect, or I just wanted to not bound in any boundary of so-called professionalism. So I am into music. I am a musician as well, and a professional illustrator as well, and my partner is into photography and other stuff as well. So we were trying to look a way of working in which people can just how various people can come and collaborate with each other, and not only think themselves as particular in a particular professional framework, but also as with respect to human being. And we started our practice in Bhopal. These are like this small caricature from me and Nipun around. So first of all, I just wanted to display some of the work which we have done when we were in Hunarshala. So this was the post earthquake relief program, building 150 houses for nuns. It's a like nunnery. The model 3D model which you are seeing right now on the screen on the right side, why I put here is because it had been cancelled because as a previous presentee told that you cannot build anything with community without consulting each and every part of them. So this model, just we got the project, and we really, not we big, but the nuns, the Tibetan nuns have their conception of breaking the ground because of some black year and everything. So we were told to build anything based on our understanding, and just go and present in front of the or build a model house. So based on our understanding, and we made this model, and we have gone there and build this actually. But then after building this model house, all the nuns came and said that, okay, we don't want your service. We will build. We'll see that how we'll build our structures, but we definitely want this model house to be constructed all over the village. So then after these things, we were told that just try and give us at least one month to study your way of living and your culture and everything, and then we will propose something which is totally based on your need. And then I personally stayed there for at least 2 months and studied all their types of living, how why they are aspired towards certain proportions and everything. So and then again, when we build the model with certain basic thing which we have over there, and then we presented in front of them, they were very happy to accept the model and the approach towards which we are going on. And then we build this 150 mud houses. So this is a place where you don't have any road connectivity, even electricity as well at that point of time. So so all the things which we have to build is by default it had to be with the local stone, or reclaimed stone from their old houses, and the mud which we get just beside the side as well. So these are the now I would be what I will be doing as I'll just share the images and then changing the process as well. So here because the nuns were so excited for their new houses, and also because they were living in very not in a good shape after once the earthquake have hit. So this was like partly public participation and partly contractor participation process, in which nuns were responsible, and they were very happy to bring mud in on the site, and then applying it on the surfaces, and also helping the masons to build their houses. And then because there were very because here in this process we also came around with a strong perception of aspiration towards the urban areas, because all of them really wanted to build cement houses for themselves, but with lot of public interaction and lot of impartition of understanding that why it is not possible in this space and in this time. Then we came around with the midway, in which we tried to use all the urban material in very specific way. So this was the short story of Bagan, and then there was another set of monks, Tibetan monks, which is different from the Nandi, and with a different set of thinking as well. So, and with all the social process. So this is the ongoing process here right now. And the second, and this is the another project which we were involved in. This like Uttarakhand, in Baram. There's a small village. So this was had to be the only school where in the whole region where all the students will walk for 2 hours and come to school to study. So it was very responsible design. It had to be very responsible design by default. So we interacted with all the children and participation, then how they wanted to study and why they wanted to study, with and separate meeting with the school kids and also with the teachers and all the authorities as well. And then we came around with certain sort of design and material palette in this situation. So after this 5 years of journey, we were very we were thinking that how we wanted to proceed now in our life, because we were very sure that we don't wanted to specifically build only what do you say, buildings or structures, but we wanted to build relationships, human relationships, and building human relationships is also, I think, an architecture in itself, if we see it in a different way. So then we were in this whole set of thinking, we came around with a process of Agor, in which we can collaborate with all the individuals and all and how we can build or create something which is humane. And also when I was in Hunarshala, I was very fortunate to document and all the masons which are there and which are taking the living tradition forward. Then we started our practice with the intent to collaborating with the process of collaborating with the local masons which are there in Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. We collaborated with them, and we wanted to explore new possibilities of how we can take this traditional craft and we can think it in a different way. So this and with different material as well. Because in urban area, personally, I think that locally available material is not the stone or other material which you prepare, but the waste materials, like the debris waste or other kind of waste which you have. So how we can we can create possibilities to build the structure with this thinking, with this set of thinking. So in this situation, we try to build we build actually the shallow masonry dome with fly ash, with debris blocks and all the stuff as well. And then we started our practice with collaborating with the local masons who is from Rohtak. You can see in this the right photograph, he is Azad Bhaiya. And then we collaborated and we performed a workshop on shallow masonry dome throughout several colleges in our country. Then after that, we got the chance to explore our thinking, our local available building craft in and around Bhopal as well. So, for example, here we tried to explore galicha tile. So, galicha tile is a handmade cement tiles with different beautiful patterns, which you can get in several parts of the country as well. But here it was a very old craft, and then it had been washed away by the same all the new tiles techniques. And and now then we wanted to collaborate with more people and more artisans, which cannot be necessarily be trained in the traditional craft, but which there is a village very near to the site called Panihar. So we visited Panihar, and we talked to the masons and the normal masons, and they were very interested in learning and exploring new ways of building, which they haven't been explored right now till now. So then we collaborated with them, and we built all the rammed earth wall with them and all the things which you can see over here. And we also we continuously been collaborating with the local masons of Haryana and Uttar Pradesh to come up with the new possibilities and new aesthetics of the traditional craft of Daat ki Chhat. So here we are using stones and new patterns and also with new materials here. So these are some photographs of the same site. And also we wanted to explore the new possibilities of using different craft, not necessarily architectural or building craft, but it is also kind of samagam which we wanted to use as a different sort of craft, but how you can combine it with building beautifully. For example, in Gwalior, we always thought of using this farsi silbatta, where on which we used to prepare chutneys and all the stuffs on this silbatta, and then we were thinking of using this somewhere and beautifully in our structure as a harmony. So we come up with the idea to basically emboss room numbers on the silbatta and then embossing it on the ramdat wall. So it came out beautifully, and of course the new possibilities of the arts is domes and walls. So this is another project with in Bhopal. This was done in recently in a campus called Valmi Water and Land Management Institute. The authorities there really wanted to build something which will be an example for the whole city, that how you can build right now with the present global scenario. So we came up with the idea to build complete open air theater, which was the need of Valmi, with the waste materials. So, for example, here you can see the photographs of the people breaking the debris in a particular size to build debris wall, and waste bottles, and also the waste metal pieces. So combine this whole together, we try to build these geometry. And also now they like this space, and they are reusing it as a social engagement for different communities around Bhopal. And now we also we are also into different we also wanted to explore different possibilities to engage with different craft as well. We started the curating exhibition for LLDC, living and design, which is a beautiful textile museum in Bhuj. The first opportunity which we got over there to build curate an exhibition called Zari of Zardozi. So it was also a very beautiful and very new experience for us as well, because we were told to try, because they were very happy with our approach and everything, and they really wanted to see that how this approach can be accommodated into designing and curating the exhibition. So here also we tried to talk with different artisans of different part of the country, to get their aesthetic sense and try to inculcate into the exhibition as well. And the next exhibition which we done on the same gallery was on Banaras brocade. So here, so all the textures and colors and all the things you can see here is we try to sync the sense of the sarees which we get in the Banaras. So, for example, here the screen which you see here is made out of jacquards, which is so these are the waste card which we get from Banaras and the artisans over there. So these are basically the template for the design of Banarasi sari, and we try to use it as a screen. And also now in the process of collaborating and exploring new possibilities of reaching out to people. We as I myself is a folk musician and related to Malwa, so there is like yearly event in Malwa which is known as Malwa Kabir Yatra, a musical journey of folk music. So this time we got the opportunity to design the stages stage of the whole yatra. So this was very beautiful journey in which we have to design 5 stages in 5 days. We have this one truck which have all the equipments and in it, and we have another set of vehicle in which we have all the volunteers and ourselves in that. So and in this process we have this idea to design a stage with all the eco-friendly and all the waste materials. So for example, the matkas you see over here, or the logo which you see over here is the logo is itself made out of waste gunny bags, and then covered with cow dung and all the natural colors over it. And the pots are, we collected it the pots from all the village, like going house to house in a village and then asking them what waste material you have, and then we collected all the waste material from them as well. And here you see all the safas which we collected from the village homes of the village. So I will conclude my all session here on the note that we necessarily, we are not taught in our college how to respect different communities and all the hierarchy which is there in the design process. And that I think which I have learned in the whole process, and I really wish that each and every one of us in the college and outside the college, if we can learn how to respect and how to collaborate and how to see different possibilities of not necessarily of being an architect, but also being a human being, and just and try to connect all the dots. I think we can build a very beautiful relationship with each and every one of us. So thank you very much for hearing me out.
Thank you, Tapas. It was very diverse and interesting presentation. We have completed with presentations, and now we will begin with panel discussion with moderator. So to introduce the moderator for today's discussion is architect Kaushal Patia. He is currently pursuing MA Material and Visual Culture in Anthropology at University College London, UCL. He has graduated from Indubai Parekh School of Architecture, Rajkot, and also has trained at D Coop Architects, Mumbai. He heads an emerging collaborative studio along with knowledge in edifying architecture. He strives to find relationship among culture, art and design through his interest in social and design research through ethnographic and human-centered approach. Thank you for joining us, Kaushal, sir. You may take over now.
Thank you, Darshit, for the introduction. I would request everyone to switch on the camera so that we don't feel like talking to the wall. And I would just want to congratulate all the panelists. It was indeed inspiring work, and rather than the very self-centered process of dominant design processes, we got to see a lot of processes which is involved in community participation, which is taking people into the agency of architecture, which we usually don't get to explore, or we usually find it challenging. There are a couple of reasons behind it, and I guess most of it you covered, especially the second presentation in the end. I'm just trying to bring forth and highlight certain pointers that we want to discuss further. And I have a couple of set of questions which have been structured in the process of making of architecture. thinking about architecture and community, and ultimately placing architecture in the society. I think my questions are quite open-ended and general, and it is addressing to all the panelists. And I would like just voluntarily ask you to take up with the questions if you want to, reflect upon the same, reciprocate upon the same. So beginning with the architecture in general, I would just like to begin with the first touch point or first point of inspiration, just to ground your beginning of the journey, which many of you have already mentioned. But you can even either mention a point of inspiration, either it is a example of someone else's work or your personal encounter and an experience with someone which have made you inspired to opt for an alternative trajectory, which has led you to this path of inculcating architecture practice by, not addressing the so-called cream layer of the clientele, which is very much dominant by the, budget, very much dominant by the needs of the client, and very much on the real estate aspirational part, almost like a good collage of material and in a very aesthetic sense, versus the meaningful approach of really understanding the human-centeredness of architecture and considering clients as not like broadening the agency of architecture, saying that we architects are a minuscule part of a big process, which is like, including community, people, etc. So, yeah, we would like to begin with your point of inspiration. We cannot listen to you, Vedanti. I think you're muted.
Yeah, I guess that's an interesting question. For us, like being in SEPT, since we were a bunch of architects, we're just not one person practicing, but we're 8 of us. So just like the entire exchange that we had while studying was very important, which we carried forward into practice. So different encounters with faculty, also the RSP programs that we had at SEPT. So the study programs, they really sort of took us close to what we're doing right now. So documenting, a lot of it involved documenting these smaller villages and understanding culture at places which we hadn't explored earlier. So that sort of grounded us, though it was very unconscious at that time, like we did not know where we are coming from or where we are going to. It was a very unconscious activity. But over time, like if you would see the entire trajectory, towards the end, by the time we had reached thesis, a lot of our research work was coincidentally focusing on, some of it was focused in community architecture. Many of us were also working towards like looking at different cultural aspects. For example, Prasik's thesis was on the traditional architecture of Sidhpur. Monik's thesis was on the urbanization in Savantwari. So we slowly over the years moved towards it. It was very organic. And even the challenges that we faced in practice while working with communities there have been many challenges, like you're saying, like the real estate part and mainstream clientele is not something we have focused on, but we have integrated it in the practice to keep it running, because this sort of work is definitely not sustainable. You have to find a way to sustain it, because we do want to do it. So there are two parts. That's why there are two parts of the practice. And we try to merge the two and try to meet them at wherever we can. That's sort of the approach that we follow.
Thank you.
Tapas, do you want to go next? Sorry.
Okay, you first. I'll be the next.
Okay, next. Yeah, so in my case, it actually started with NASA. So I think I remember in second year, we had this opportunity where we got to actually build a low-cost bus shelter just outside our college. So my college is located in Ooty, so we had this eucalyptus leaves and all of that. So we could actually do a bus shelter in less than 5,000 rupees. So that's when we got exposed to this domain where we could work towards the public sector, but still staying in line within the design side. So since then, it has always been looking out for such kind of opportunities. And then later, I had opportunities to hold several positions in NASA, where in one of the ANDC competitions was also to transform a lot of spaces, public spaces. So that actually exposed the opportunity that across the country there are so many opportunities. Architecture students are there are a lot of people who are waiting for opportunities. It's just that support and guidance that they need to take it. So that we wanted to actually trust to NASA. So after that, then I got an opportunity to work with UDC, and since then it has been every project is actually a new learning. It's actually inspiring because we don't follow the same methodology, or even if it's the same client, the project aim, and it's completely different. So another thing why this inspires is because it's like some issue or something that you've been noticing on an everyday basis, you get to resolve it through design and other things. So that's actually very it allows us to be the change of what we want to see around us. So that's how this has been going on.
मुझे ऐसा लगता है ना कि आपको जो करना है आपको ये तब पता चलता है जब आपको ये पता चलता है कि आपको क्या नहीं करना है. So the process start when you know that what not you wanted to do, and then you shatter all the dust which is. So for me as well, for my process as well, it was like I went for internship in Delhi in second year in a very corporate and commercial firm. One thing I learned from there is never to come back here again in my life. So that was actually the starting of actually finding out what actually means कर्म का मतलब क्या है. What do you mean by karma? So it's a little philosophical itself, but I think that's how I will define what I am doing right now. So using my body as a musical instrument, I would say, just wanted to hit onto the note which I think is the most musical to my ears, to my surrounding. And then afterwards I came around to a place called Hunnarshala, and then I figured out, okay, ye to karna tha. So then I went over there, interacted with several beautiful people around, all the masons, and actually I started de-learning what I've been taught in the college. And it took around 2.5 years, and then afterwards, and then slowly I started doing illustrations, and I have music and how to connect the dots. It's actually a very long process, and frankly we are still trying to figure out how to connect all these dots which are not conventionally connected in itself. So yeah, chal raha hai.
On that note, I would like to quote you, Tapas, when you mentioned that you were trying to build relationship, the human relationship with architecture, and that is something that we often forget in the process, or maybe it's where we begin with, but when we enter into the profession, we usually forget that we are human first, we are part of the society. And this raises certain questions of the ethical role of an architect in society, So there are a lot of ethical things where we all take that liberty of being social agents at time, as well as being architect. Sorry. So how do you look at it? There are a lot of architects who actually debate, and I would intentionally like to contradict a bit just to generate the discussion that what is the value of like architect being a social agent versus the other one.
I think it is actually mandatory and it has to be ingrained in every architect that they are a part of this social change sector, because you are actually creating spaces. You need to be conscious in a lot of ways. Like even if you're just designing a residence, also the materials that you are using, it's just because the client wants something fancy from, the carbon miles and all of that is some a conscious decision that we have to take, being in that responsible position. So we have to choose, and wisely it is our role also to build the capacity of the client to accept what is local, support that and all of that, and not just like get carried away with fancy things from outside. So I think it's a mandate for an architect to also get ingrained as a social reformer.
I personally wanted to say on this note, Kaushal, that when people ask somebody that what you are, so people often say that I am an architect, or I'm certain. I'm certain. I'm an engineer. I'm a doctor. XY. I think that it is very important to de-learn of being in an industrial system. I have learned certain capabilities which are there of building something, or I have also, but that is not who I am, right? So that's just a knowledge system which you have acquired due to my interest or certain social structures. So it is very important if you ask me, that it is very important of coming out of that bubble of being some what do you say, industrial or a professional, right? So if you come out of it, you have the whole what do you say, asman, you have the whole sky in front of you, and then you try to I wanted to actually quote Kabir. So here he says in one of his beautiful song that इसका भेद बता मेरे अवधूत, अच्छी करनी कर ले तू, और डाली फूल जगत में माही, जहां देखूं
It's 4 o'clock.
कि मतलब he says that when I try to look myself not only in human being but also myself in the leaf, or in you, or in each and everything which is around me, then actually I break that whole bubble of being what I am thought of being. And if once you come out of that particular bubble, you have a huge space and huge sky to play around, and I think that's where the magic begins.
That's very interesting, Tapas, what you just mentioned, actually. But I also feel the same, and I think that as even within a professional environment of an architect, you really can't remove the social aspects. Like, you are very much a social agent. Like, when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with the client, or you're dealing with stakeholders. You would realize, I think we. While studying, we did not realize that we looked at it from a very design perspective as to what we have designed will get executed on site. But when you actually get into practice, there are so many aspects or so many people you have to deal with and speak to, right from the client to your karigar and the many people who are involved in this entire process. So all the decisions or all the steps that you take are kind of interrelated. So you cannot really remove yourself from being a social agent here. You, in fact, like you're probably the the catalyst and the person who's binding everything together uh, in the whole project or process.
Thank you. Yeah. So this ultimately, your work, your answers, I would say, is in a way trying to argue against the current trend of architecture being very aesthetic, architecture being very self-centered. You like at the end of the year or at the end of the project, you want to publish something in the magazines, and it should be feeding to your own self rather than contributing to the society in general. And this also needs a lot of sensitivity in terms of considering the value system of the other people who are involved in the project. So right from the community to, as Vedanti mentions, other stakeholders. And it's the totally different world when you enter into the profession. Why am I highlighting these facts? As often as a student, we don't realize the actual domain, and there's always, I would not say gap, but there is a difference in which the academics is led, and there's difference in which when you enter into the world, you suddenly get to know that, like the point where we used to stop in like in the design process in the colleges and the schools, like it's nowhere, it's completely different from where the real world begins. And that is the point of transition where a lot of people get lost in the process, or they couldn't channelize their energy in a constructive direction, and they end up being frustrated, or they end up taking a lot of other options. And this brings forth the question of the challenges and the issue, as Vedanti also once mentioned, of sustainability or sustenance of the practice itself, and the resources, like how do we survive as an architect or as a practice. And this again brings in the question of the vulnerability of the profession itself, where we have been debating it, I think nationally, because of like this lockdown. It has been debated all the time, that how do we survive as a profession, how do we survive as architects, and there are a lot of questions entering other disciplines practicing in architects. So I think you guys have answered already in some or the other way, but still I would like to individually want you to just elaborate upon how do you balance that.
Yeah, I would like to answer this question. So I am disagree with that. The academics and the profession is very different, because it's more like connecting dots. Like the way we are going during the college time. I'm just explaining in one of the project, so you can connect to both the things. So if we see the process, like the way we are used to go during the RSPs, the different days, and trying to make friends in the is working, and then we didn't able to figure out those process, and then we went to the